Hey, thank you for joining us today. This is Liam with the Game Bolt, with the Game Bolt's Brett Woodmansey. Brett, how you doing today?
I'm well. How are you? It was a big
I'm
day in the world of video games for one reason, which is why we are doing an impromptu discussion. So, as you can tell by the title, possibly, we're going to be talking PSVR.
Yep. So today at GDC, Sony decided to announce a release date as well as price point and more specifics with PlayStation VR. And Brett, when is it releasing?
So, it was, for a long time we were just waiting um, on the details. We were so close, and it is now coming in October of this year at a retail price of $399, which is big for a
Yeah.
few reasons. For
Yeah,
sure.
so I think so first off, I just want to touch on the release date briefly because Sony did state, I think it was a few months ago, maybe even at E3, that they were targeting a first half of 2016 release date, and that would mean it would be directly competing with, I believe that means it would be directly competing with at least Oculus,
Mm.
right? Because Oculus is due out in April, I believe. Let me look that up real
Yeah, and I
quick.
think what was it? Early adopters or people who I think funded it on Kickstarter get it a little bit earlier. I could be wrong in that. But in the PlayStation blog post itself from Andrew House, he does note in a paragraph that quote that is a bit later than the time frame we previously stated, and I want to thank everyone for their patience and continued support. So he does admit that they weren't quite on schedule with what they're. Because I remember hearing or reading that they were looking to get it out in the first half of this year. But I mean, nonetheless, we have a release date for it, which is always awesome. So I'm always appreciative of that. Whether it's in October or if it were in December.
Yeah, it looks like in the end of March, beginning of April is when the Oculus Rift and HTC Vives will be available. HTC Vive coming out April 5th, 2016. And then the backers from Kickstarter get it March, the early investors get it March 28th, 2016 in regards to the Oculus Rift. So do you think, it seems to me that they felt that October was safer instead of dealing with their competition head on. Do you think Sony is going to be doing a lot of reacting to what the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive turn out to be, or do you think
Um,
they just want to prepare the best product possible?
that's a good question because the way I look at it in regards to PlayStation VR, I think this is more towards this product itself is more geared towards people who own a PS4 and
Yeah,
people who are into Sony because the price point alone, it's cheaper than both. But I mean, the people who are going to be very invested in VR, and you know, it's the weakest of the three in terms of tech and everything. This I hate to say it's VR PlayStation VR is more casual, but I would definitely say it's more accessible for the likes of you and I because neither
yeah,
of us have that $1,000 rig that can handle HTC
right.
Vive or Oculus. So for much cheaper, and we both already have a PS4, it's much easier for both of us to get a PSVR, and it's very convenient.
Right. Well, like one thing that I'm kind of coming to realize with this PSVR is that they're really trying to focus on the games. We've had a few games throughout the year teased or shown that are going to come to PlayStation VR, and if it releases in October, that means they have until not just PlayStation VR games, but regular PS4 games you can play in cinematic mode. They'll
Yeah,
have a
I
very nice library of games that you can
yeah,
experience
seriously.
like on from the get-go with PSVR, and that's pretty impressive, like in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you have games like The Last of Us, The Witcher. I mean, could you imagine the Order in
Yeah.
VR? That would
Yep.
be incredible.
Yep, and it's not a VR dedicated game,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's a game you'll be
absolutely.
experiencing VR, which is kind of that's kind of cool that we're moving toward that.
Yeah, it's tough to grasp it. From what I've read, or from like tweets I've read from, I think it was Max Scoville and Greg Miller. They were saying, with the cinematic mode, it was essentially like playing it on like a movie theater screen, as opposed to like being immersed in that VR sense, where the naturally built VR games might provide that more realistic sense of what VR is intended to do. It'll definitely enhance and it'll provide a more unique experience for the aforementioned order, but I think it still could be very different from actually games that are dedicated to VR and they're able to more interact with. But again, I don't think if you played VR, and I know I haven't. So it's you kind of want to grasp it, but you really can't because you haven't tried it. So I have no
Yeah.
idea what this what this cinematic mode is really gonna feel like,
Mm-hmm.
look like. So we'll see when we get there, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean you can only fathom how it feels and looks and everything.
Mm-hmm. And I think, and so another thing I want to touch on with games real quick before we go more into breaking down that price point, because that price point isn't just 399, but when you think of a game that's upcoming, that's gonna be on the PS4, maybe it's gonna be on the PS4 between June 1st and June 26th, and it's in space. What game do you think of? What game do you think of?
No Man's Sky, of course.
Right. So No Man's Sky hasn't been announced as a PSVR game, but it's announced as a. But with this PSVR cinematic game, um, do you think that it's still? Do you think first-person games, such exciting as in-depth as that, um, do you think that FPSs are going to feel a lot different on the PS4?
In VR.
Yeah. Or just with that
Um,
cinematic mode. I mean, I don't want to read too much into it, but it's kind of cool
yeah,
that
I mean,
you don't have to just have it such a separate.
just click R2, like you can, you know, play it differently. Um, I don't really know because again, I just like the whole what we just said with the order, it's something we have to get a feel for first. Again, we can speculate what a first person shooter may play like, but we have no idea until we actually play it.
Yeah.
I could, and it's going to be functional with Move controllers, so it'll definitely feel a little bit more immersive. Being much, move your hands around, and that's how you're going to, put your gun to your face and, kind of like just look at it and get a feel for it. And, um, we'll see when that time comes, but I don't know exactly how first person shooters or first person games in general will differ. Because I mean, No Man's Sky
Mhm.
is probably what a lot of people want the most on VR, and rightfully so. I just what kind of what are we gonna expect with it? You know?
Right. Now we're on the, but it's kind of moving on from games. I kind of want to go to the price point. So the price is 399,
Yeah,
and
but it's deeper than that.
yeah.
Like
So
399, like that's awesome. It's the price. It's a little bit more expensive than a PS4 these days, um, and that's great. It doesn't for a lot of people. It doesn't seem to cost too much, or at least you can save up for a while, and eventually you'll have it. Um, but the caveat here is that you're going to need both a PlayStation camera, the one that works with PlayStation 4, and PlayStation Move controllers in order to be able to use PlayStation VR, which is upsetting because you would hope that they would come right out in the box.
right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I already own the PlayStation camera, so for me, I just have to get the Move controllers. But I definitely appreciate that there are 7 months between now and VR's launch, and
Yeah.
that's plenty of time. That's plenty of a heads up to say, hey, you're gonna need these things, so within the next 7 months, excuse me, try and go get a PlayStation camera, go get two Move controllers. Um, it stinks that you're gonna have to put up an extra potentially $100 because I think a camera alone is 50 or 60, and then you can
So
probably
it kind of rounds out to $500
yeah,
if
it's
you're newer to PS4.
which is still cheaper
Yeah.
than Vive and Oculus. So it's $100, but it's you're getting the necessary components for this potentially innovative piece of technology. I mean, it's a chance because VR in general could be a huge hit, or it could just be a something that some people like and others just don't get. And
Like
PlayStation
motion
VR,
control.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
PlayStation VR is no different. So
Hmm.
it's a chance, and I'd be willing to take that chance. And for an extra $100 for virtual reality, that's hopefully a working thing. I'm 100% going to take that chance.
Well, the one thing that PlayStation's going to have on their side by October, the PS4 has sold at least
I think it's
36 million
Yeah, I think it's
units,
36 at the moment, 36 million.
and they'll probably by October, there's an outside chance they could get to 50. They'll probably be somewhere around 42, 43, um, especially if Xbox and especially if sales kind of slow down or Xbox
Hmm.
starts to pick up. But
Plus, I mean, we have
they'll probably be above 40 million.
yeah, yeah, and you have
So
the side, the I don't know, the subplot of Uncharted 4 is coming out, Ratchet and Clank, uh,
hmm
and I'm some people out there don't have a PS4 yet. Maybe they're waiting
yeah.
on those games, and Uncharted 4 is going to sell like crazy, and third party games like Dark Souls and all these other games. So there's plenty of time, and PS4 is going to be hitting with some fantastic games this year, and it's amazing what they're doing. You look at the sales numbers every time; it's like, holy crap! I
hmm
can't believe it's selling that well. Like 36 million units already,
Yeah.
and come October, like you said, it could be 42. Um,
So in terms
there's
of VR, it could have such a large share in the market that
mhm.
it seems like it could really uh, PSVR could be the one that really popularizes VR with a crowd with I don't want to say a younger crowd, but a crowd that is more likely to use it for a gaming application.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's better or worse, but it
Yeah, I
doesn't
think
need
that's a
as the
preference thing.
yeah, the tech doesn't have to be as expansive if it's just for gaming, it seems like. I mean, I don't know. I think this tech's so new that we're probably pretty lucky to get a $400 price point.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a new way to play. It's something that 10 years ago you could only dream of, and
Right. Yeah.
months from now, or I mean even weeks from now, with Oculus or HTC Vive, it's gonna be right there.
Yeah. Well,
And
now you just said Oculus and HTC Vive, so let's go over the VR models.
yeah, yeah.
Oculus Rift, that's $600. And I want to preface this before I go into the rigs. I don't know a whole lot about computers. I think it's one of the I don't know about I can't speak for yourself, but I think personally it's one of the reasons why I've never been as interested in PC gaming because it's a lot of I would have spent a lot of time I feel like I have to spend a lot of time to really understand how to properly set up
I'm
a
right there with
computer.
you. I
Yeah.
appreciate PC gaming, but
Yeah.
and I know in the long run it's more inexpensive than consoles, but it's like
It
every few
is.
years, there's a new graphics card or something, and it's like,
Yeah. And I'm comfortable with the console, to be
yeah, yeah.
honest. Yeah.
I've played consoles my whole life. I'm
Yeah.
perfectly okay with that. And I believe it's not just the product itself. I mean, I believe it's I don't know how much is gonna ease people into this $608 price point, but you're also getting, I believe, a controller or two, and then you're getting some VR games too. So you're not
hmm
just getting the VR machine. You're getting controller and things you need to operate with
Right.
it, and maybe that'll help people ease into it. Like you don't have to spend an extra $100 to get controllers.
Right.
It'll come with it. So
And I read an article on TechCrunch, its website, that they're obviously involved. They have a lot of tech related articles, a
mhm.
lot of stuff on VR, but also a lot of stuff on just internet and streaming services and basically any kind of gadget that's in right now. And they made a really good point that with the PSVR, they know your PlayStation's limitations. They
Mm-hmm.
don't with Oculus and Vive, which could be a pretty big, which could be, I feel like if any, which could be, this could be a pretty big advantage. But since Sony knows your PS4's limitations because they designed it, because I feel like they mentioned because your computers are so expansive, you can do so many things with your rig, and but they don't know what kind of they may not know what kind of viruses your specific rig has on it. They don't know your specific computer's limitations. So, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, if you set up your computer, your desktop computer to be compatible in one way, it may not work as fully with VR as your neighbor's,
Mm-hmm.
just as expensive rig. So that could be pretty promising in terms of iteration and in terms of updates and in terms of how PlayStation moves forward in the future. Um,
Yeah, 'cause it's
but
like it's a one concrete, set of specs,
hmm
and your PS4 is going to meet that regardless, whether it's a launch PS4 or
hmm
the newer models.
hmm
Whereas your $1,000 rig might have some trouble, and that's unfortunate. But that kind of those two VR machines are definitely more of a premium than PlayStation VR is.
right. And now I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go back to the Oculus and Vive. Brett, which one do you think is going to be the biggest competition? I mean, I'm not saying PSVR is going to run out, you know, in front right away. It looks like it
Hmm.
won't, but it has a good shot. Which one do you think is going to be PSVR's biggest competition?
Um, I can't say for sure. I mean, because there are definitely multiple
Yes.
demographics in this. The way you look at it, there's, of course, people interested in VR and gamers alike, and they might prefer, excuse me, HTC Vive for a certain reason or Oculus. But I think Oculus has a better shot in my opinion because of the branding and potentially the marketing. I mean, Oculus is now owned by Facebook, and of course, Facebook is a billion wide person. It's a worldwide social media platform. And on top of that, we saw there's an article in Time magazine with Palmer Luckey talking about Oculus. So, I mean, people are probably going to be more familiar with uh, Oculus than Vive or even PlayStation VR. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's the name you're going to know because of Facebook and Time magazine. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's kind of maybe two demographics going at each other. So you can't really predict because I'll straight out say I know nothing about VR. Coming into this recording, I wasn't able to watch the GDC conference for PlayStation VR because I was at work. But I'm interested, but I don't have the most knowledge, so I can't.
Yeah.
Well, this
Yeah.
this machine has this, and that is that. Well, we'll see. I can only speculate from a bird's
Yeah.
eye view.
I mean, I feel like if there's one thing that Sony and PlayStation has taught us over the years is that, well, at least in 2015, is that if you have a solid PR message, even if your machine isn't the one of the best one on the market, because let's face it, the Xbox One has a bit more bells and whistles than the PS4, and those deals are a lot better than the deals you can get with the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And the PS4 is, I mean, at one point it was 2 to 1
Yeah,
worldwide PS4 Xbox Ones. So I think there's one thing Sony's taught us is that if you send a strong positive PR message, that you can really sell your product,
absolutely.
even with something so specific as tech. So I don't think Oculus, for that reason, I don't think Oculus will be the biggest competition, even though it's the $600 one, even though it was the big one. It had the Kickstarter campaign. It's owned by Facebook. I think because Palmer Luckey made a big deal in the months leading up that it's going to be no more than like 300, $400, and it's going to be it's going to be relatively cheaper. And the fact that Facebook, you go on Facebook, it's a lot of ads. It's a lot of BS. Personally, you have to put up with on Facebook. I
Hmm.
think I just think Oculus is going to be, when you really think about behind the eight ball, a lot more than it seems. Whereas HTC Vive, they're working with HTC and Valve especially. I feel like they're with games and also with
Yeah, I
applications
mean
and
they're one of the
just,
biggest companies
yeah,
in
in
video games, and
terms of tech and video games. I think they're really gonna be able to do some cool stuff with the HTC Vive, and it won't be $800 for long. Um, I think that's gonna be I think that's going to be the one that PSVR is going to have to keep an eye out on.
yeah,
PSVR
I mean
has the
it's
relationship with the devs, but so does Valve. Valve will be able to really get some cool exclusives for that.
oh,
In terms of
absolutely.
gamers, they'll really be able to get some cool exclusives for their
Hmm.
Vive.
And it is new technology. I remember just seeing people were tweeting at Palmer Luckey being upset, and he saying like this is a new piece of technology. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
of course, it's going to be expensive,
Yeah, of course.
and
Yeah.
if you don't like that, then you don't have to buy it day one. You can wait
Mm-hmm.
until the next iteration or maybe a
Oh,
price
right.
drop. You don't have to go in right away. Like, well, I'm gonna buy it, but I don't like spending $600. We don't have to right away. Maybe you can wait for it to be 500 or 550, or maybe there's a newer model that's slightly better than the original one. So it's new, potentially innovative technology that we've never seen before. It's the
Mm-hmm.
first of its kind, of course, along with Vive and PlayStation VR. So it's going to be expensive. We're not going to like it, but that comes with the territory of virtual reality technology in 2016.
Right. So I guess there's a few more questions to close this out. Is there well, real quick, Star Wars Battlefront is coming to VR. It's a Battlefront experience. Do you think there's gonna be more experiences like that, like this Star Wars Battlefront that are coming out, or you think they're just kind of capitalizing the Star Wars hype?
Um, I think it's a little bit of both, but more so the first question where it's other games could do this. I'm curious to see exactly what they're gonna do in regards to experience because I don't imagine it will be the full Battlefront game,
No,
but maybe some kind of VR experience where you're on Hoth and
like a training thing.
yeah, and like you get
Yeah,
to run around like you're holding a lightsaber with the PlayStation Move controllers and you're running around, but it's not like a full like team deathmatch mode. Like it's just it as close as it can makes you feel like you're Luke Skywalker on
right.
Hoth, taking down the AT-AT. Like, um, it's more of an experience than it is a game. It's almost like a one of those like old like simulator machines you sit in like Disney or something. That at least that's the way I look at it. And of course, if Star Wars Battlefront is successful with this, then it'll definitely incentivize Sony and or other companies to say, hey,
Destiny
yeah, oh, absolutely,
division.
Destiny would be huge. Saying, let's give this a chance. It's not going to be the full fledged game, but it's kind of like a side thing that people that are fans of this game might be willing to check this out, and it provides something new. It's not your typical Destiny experience.
Right. Um, I think Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's pretty spot on. So I don't have too much more to add. But if you if you're let's say you control all things Sony, what kind of bundle do you announce for like Black Friday or for just a regular VR bundle?
Hmm. I mean, I know there was an
What do you
article.
think is the best deal that you can get for PS4 and VR?
I would have to say it would be an all-in-one package. You get the camera and at least two controllers included. And assuming, yeah, Black Friday's in November, so there will be some game, of course, there'll be a lot of games out. Maybe a voucher for VR games, one or two games, or a PSN download code.
Mm-hmm.
A money voucher that's $500, maybe 530.
Mhm. I
Uh,
think what you do is you play it safe. You have a $700 bundle PS4 VR, but you include two Move controllers, The Last of Us with on the PS4, um, the camera, and you include a copy of No Man's Sky. And because that's over what? That's $60 No Man's Sky. The two controllers, probably like 45. That's 110. So
the camera
710. That's like
loans 50.
810. Yeah, it's almost like a 900. It's basically a $900 bundle for $200 less. I think you have to. That's how I would do it. Kind of play it safe.
Yeah, yeah.
But include at least two games because you know that you're gonna want to try. If you're buying a PS4, you're gonna want a game for your PS4 and you want a game for the PSVR.
hmm Yeah, it's definitely important to get people, you know, maybe there'll be. I can't imagine there being a bundle for every single game, but say,
Yeah,
you
yeah, that
know,
would be.
there's a
Oof,
No Man's Sky
be cool
bundle.
though.
There's a Last of Us bundle. There's an Adrift. Adrift is at the time an Adrift one.
Yeah, that'll be out soon.
Just a whole bunch of stuff that people can kind of pick and choose from. Like they have different Xbox One bundles, and it'll be similar to that with VR.
Hmm. Right, and one last thing before we go, Microsoft. That is Microsoft and Nintendo, but Microsoft specifically, they haven't really announced any dead set, any specific VR plan. They have dabbled in augmented reality. Do you think they respond this year at E3? Have they already been planning something, or do you think they're going to wait and see how VR plans out and play it safe?
I personally, I think they're gonna wait before they jump the gun because if you look at the past Sony products, I mean the PSP was sold very well, and then you have the Move, which was kind of received lukewarm, and then the Vita has not sold well. So Sony entering VR is a risk in itself. So as you're,
But they've taken risks before.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And if it works out, then that's going to incentivize Microsoft to say, all right, let's, get on it as soon as we possibly can and try out VR. I mean, they have HoloLens and everything, but if VR sells well, or at least particularly PlayStation VR, they might say, all right, well, let's invest in VR and maybe get a new product out that's for Xbox. So I don't see them doing anything this year. At least at E3, I don't think. I would say probably nothing until maybe quarter 2 of next year. We wouldn't get details until then because I mean, of course, at launch it might sell well because it's the hot new thing, but you're gonna want to see some time pass, like 3 or 4 months, and see if it just goes sales go down, or if it's at a steady pace, maybe it increases. You got to see how the market does specifically
Hmm.
PlayStation VR before you can do anything to try and
Hmm.
meet the competition.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be interesting to see if any more VR, if everyone else steps into the VR ring. I guess you could say if you're thinking about it as a boxing or wrestling match.
hmm
But I can't imagine there'd be two or three more big competitors, or even if PlayStation will be a big gaming competitor. But I think that I think it would be interesting if there's like a fourth one. It seems like these three, given how the Oculus and the HTC are so PC driven and the PSVR is just so different
hmm
on a kind of a different market,
Yeah, yeah.
different audience. I think these three could definitely live and breathe on their own. But it'll be really interesting to see if any competition does crop up on the consoles. But so I think that's all I have to say. Brett, how about you? You have any
Um,
closing thoughts?
I was just curious. What's one game that you're really looking forward to that either is going to be a natural VR game, or maybe you can play it in the a PS4 game that you can play in the cinematic
Mhm.
mode. Like, what's one game that you
I've
really want
caught
to see?
I've caught some of the Adrift previews, and that seems really cool. Even though it is coming out sooner, so it will be a while before we can try that on PSVR. but a lot of the smaller indie titles like Adrift, Gone Home, Firewatch, um,
Ooh, Firewatch
but
VR would be really
a
sweet.
game that wouldn't be natural to VR, Horizon. It, when they panned out the widescreen on E3, it just looked like a world. It looked like how they constructed the world that they took into account um, the vistas and the height of the dinosaurs. So it seems like a VR home theater on your head type of situation would really accentuate the designs and the breadth of the dinosaurs and the well, not the dinosaurs, like the machines
Hmm.
and just the land, the earth taken over by the apocalyptic machine doom. I think it could make that really interesting and really striking up close. How about you?
Um, I mean, of course, I know I've said before I don't really have any interest in No Man's Sky, but before we started recording this, we were saying how if No Man's Sky were to come to VR, we want Hello Games to. We want
Yeah.
them to. That's their baby. There, that's such a huge, ambitious thing. You don't want anybody else messing with it. And you know, maybe we'll see if it comes to VR, but if it does, then I'm more inclined to check it out on VR than I would be if it were just on PS4.
Yeah.
But for something that's on PS4 and playing it in like a cinematic mode, um, I would have to say, goodness, why not something like Bloodborne maybe? You get a closer look at just
Yeah.
how gruesome that world is and how just messed up all the people look, and you hear all the creepy sounds, and it just it's probably not. It might give me nightmares because it would be way more gruesome than it already is, even though it's already really gruesome. It's a lot more immersive that way, and you're like, holy,
Hmm.
like that's just like it's way more creepy than it would be just on PS4.
Hmm. All right. Well, I think that's all I have for today. Brett, how about you? Any last statements, last thoughts you can
Uh,
give?
no, nothing. I
No?
know for me, I'm definitely interested in VR. On
Yep,
price
me too.
alone, I mean it's $400, and that's not too inexpensive for me. Sorry, too expensive for me. I just have to put some money aside
Hmm.
here and there, and
Plan it out.
in yeah, no time
Yep.
I'll have it. And some of those games like Job Simulator looks just really fun to play, and it's like silly 100
Yeah.
foot robot golf, and then you have Adrift, which sounds really cool. That Battlefront experience, quote unquote experience. I'm curious to see exactly what that will be. So I'm not going to be buying it day one, but I'm definitely very interested.
Yeah.
I will most likely buy it.
Cool. Good to hear it. Well, Brett, if someone wanted to follow you on Twitter, where could they find you?
You can find me at Brett Woodmansee, WoodMansee.
Sounds good. And I can be followed at Liam Neeson, Leeum Neeson. And you can follow the Game Bolt at the capital THE Game Bolt, capital GAMEBOLT. And you can check us out at www.gamebolt.com. Check our YouTube channel out. We are on Twitch, always streaming some cool games, great commentary, run very well by Cody. And thank you guys for watching.
Thank you so much, guys.